Hello there. Welcome back to another episode of the Weekly Bego podcast. My name is Mr. Chime, and I'm back again with another wonderful episode. Today, I'm going to be talking about rental scams on Zillow. If you remember clearly on episode 8, I talked about how to spot Craigslist rent scams. That is, if you're someone that likes to use Craigslist to look for a home or find an apartment, I talked about how to avoid the rent scams that are very rampant on Craigslist platform. Well, today I'm going to be talking about a popular platform where you can go to look for apartments or homes to rent, and it's called Zillow. You're probably familiar with this platform, and it's one of the biggest platforms for rent here in the United States. It's better than Craigslist, that's for sure, in the sense that most of the landlords that list their apartments or home for rent have to verify, unlike Craigslist where anybody could just go up there and post rooms for rent or apartments for rent. Well, today I'm going to be answering the question, are there rent scams on Zillow? The answer is yes. Zillow is not really excluded from the nefarious activities of scammers. Scammers have access to the platform, and they can post a fake apartment listing and actually scam you of your money. So, as a young working class adult that is trying to find an apartment to rent, you have to be extremely careful about putting your information up there and being careful not to be scammed of your money, because the scammers on Zillow are really smart, and there are so many ways you can actually differentiate between a legitimate apartment posting and one that is posted by a scam. There are many red flags on Zillow that you have to identify to know that such an apartment post is done by a scammer and not a legitimate apartment complex that is trying to rent the apartment to you. Now, this is what I want you to really look out for whenever you go on Zillow to look for an apartment. First thing first, if you come across an apartment listing where the landlord is in another state, or the apartment complex or apartment management company is talking to you from another state, say for instance you're in the state of Texas and you're looking for an apartment in the state of Texas, and you saw a beautiful apartment or home on Zillow, and you reach out to inquire about this apartment or home, and you find out that the apartment complex or the management company is in another state, say Nevada. That's a red flag. Landlords in another state trying to rent to you in your state or your locality is a red flag to be aware of, and I wouldn't recommend you going for such apartment listing. The reason why I say this is because prior to me making this episode, I did a little bit of research, and a lot of people complained about getting scammed on Zillow. And one of the things I came across on Reddit is that the person that scammed them of their money was either an apartment management company in another state trying to rent them an apartment in their state. That's a red flag. I will not recommend you doing that. So whenever you go on there and you're searching for an apartment and you reach out to the apartment complex and they're telling you, hey, I'm in New York, but I have an apartment in Texas, or I have an apartment in, say, uh, Philadelphia, and I want to rent it out to you, but I'm not really in your city right now. And um, if you could send me your information, I will do that for you. I would advise you not to do that because that is a big red flag. This is because it could go wrong in so many ways. First thing first is if something is to happen, you don't know who to hold responsible, and you cannot actually take law enforcement to the place of the person that is trying to rent you the apartment because the person is not in another state and the person cannot be traced. So that's something to be aware of if you're on Zillow trying to look for an apartment. Now, if you come across an apartment listing on Zillow and you're trying to apply for the apartment, or you're trying to apply for the the home that you have found, and they're telling you that everything is going to be done online, that there's a virtual tour of the apartment, that is the touring of the apartment has to be done online. I will not recommend that too. That's a big red flag to be aware of. My philosophy is to always go see the place for yourself. If the apartment management company or the person trying to rent their home to you cannot let you come see the place, we say to stop it right there. Do not proceed further. This is to avoid you getting scammed. Apartment complexes, I believe, is a place that you should come in, and there is already a leasing office that will welcome you once you step into the place and give you a tour of the apartment that you want to rent. If this cannot be done and you're being told that everything has to be very remote, just avoid it. It's a red flag. Don't do it. Another way of finding apartment scams or identifying them on Zillow is I want you to look for typos on the listing. This is usually where some scammers, maybe they're in another country, especially in a non-English speaking country, and they posted a listing on Zillow, but you're looking at the listing and there's a lot of grammatical errors on the listing. I would say to not proceed further. This is because big apartment complexes or apartment complexes, they're professional businesses, and if they're going to make a mistake in the sentences or the grammatical structure of their post, it has to be very minimal, not so obvious that you can tell this is someone that has not gone to college. Do you understand what I mean? If you go to a listing and there's a lot of typos on there, it's an indication that perhaps the person trying to rent the place, whether it's an apartment or a home, might be a scam artist in another country. I usually avoid those, and I recommend you do the same too. Now on Zillow, you might find a listing with a lot of sub stories. By sub stories, I mean stories that talk the heart. You see a beautiful apartment listing on Zillow. You went over there to inquire more, and now the person is telling you a story about their personal life and the reasons why they want to rent the apartment or home. I am not one to I'm not one to sit down and listen to your emotional stories about why you want to rent. I feel like that is trying to sell the apartment hard. They're trying to sell the apartment hard to you, and I feel like there's a catch to this. Take for instance, about some years back, I went to Zillow to apply for an apartment, and it wasn't really like a big apartment complex. It was just like one of those duplexes, right? And this person is a private landlord, meaning that it's not a commercial business. It's just some individuals that are trying to rent out a part of their home And what this person is telling me, they were trying to move to the UK, and um, they want somebody to stay in the house while they are away, and somebody can take care of the the lawn and everything, and they will pay a little bit of rent, and the rent itself was ridiculously low. And when I saw that, my gut instincts started ringing. I was like, this is too good to be true. Now, I mean, I don't know for sure if the sob story or the story this person was telling me was legit. But when you are trying to rent an apartment or a home, you're trying to rent with your hard earned money, money that you have sweated to earn. So I don't think you should take chances with things like that. For me personally, I didn't really go for that, and I just stopped communicating with the person that listed the place, because I feel like if you're trying to rent a place to someone, you don't need to tell a story why you're trying to rent it out, because that is you right there trying to convince me that there's everything good about the deal. You're trying to make me feel emotional so that I can just subconsciously feel pity and be like, okay, well, this is a good deal, and the person offering me a low rent even makes that more enticing. So if you're not careful, this is a scam that you can easily fall victim to, right? So if there's a sub story behind a listing on Zillow, don't go for it. Even if the rent offer is very low compared to what the rent is in your city, don't go for it, because there's a high chance that might be a scam. Another red flag on Zillow is when an apartment listing is trying to hurriedly ask you for financial information, or ask you to put down a down payment before you can even proceed with the rent applications, or put down some money before you can even come see the place. I will not recommend this. Remember when I told you that I did my research on Reddit before I started this podcast, and before I wrote the articles that has to do with apartment scams? Most of the scams that happened on Zillow, most of the people there that posted about the scams, they were complaining about how some of the landlords, supposedly landlords in quotations, asked them to make a down payment, and they actually did the down payment only to find out that it was a scam, and the person deleted the listing and disappeared. These are some of the stories that most people come across on Zillow, whereby smart scammers would come in and then post a beautiful apartment for rent or a home for rent, and they will ask you to make a down payment because so many people are applying for the same place that you're going for. And when you put down some money on that, they will, of course, close down everything, and you won't be able to reach out to them again. Apartment listing on Zillow that request for financial information or money is a big red flag. This is because you're not supposed to give anybody any money. You're not supposed to make any down payment until you have seen the place. And I will keep on saying it. Do not give out your financial information or make a down payment on a house or an apartment for rent until you have seen the place. I want you to go over there. I want you to see the place for yourself. And I want you to be able to judge that the person renting you this place actually owns the place, or they are authorized to rent the place out to you. If not, uh, you expose yourself to some ridiculousness. Scammers too. When scammers on Zillow want to get you, sometimes they will just post an apartment listing, and when you apply for it, they will send you a link to an external website outside of Zillow. This is where they tell you stories like, oh, we have our own website, realtor website, and we want you to go over there and apply. Don't do that. Or they will send you a code to your phone and be like, hey, follow the code and go apply. Don't do that. The reason why there is Zillow helps you with those processes. You get what I mean? But with the process of background check, credit check, and the hassle of going through a lot of rental application headaches. So if someone behind an apartment listing on Zillow is trying to get you off Zillow to apply for something, they are more likely interested in getting your information so they can scam you, or have you follow a link where your phone can be hacked and your personal information leaked. So I will not recommend you following external links or codes once you try to apply for an apartment on Zillow, because there is a high chance that you're dealing with a scammer. Legitimate commercial apartments don't do that. People that want to rent their houses or apartment to you, legitimate people, they wouldn't do that, because they don't even want to go through the hassle of rental applications. That's why they're on Zillow, because Zillow helps them do that. So when someone up there on that platform is trying to get you to follow a link out to a so-called real estate website or their own website where you could put in your personal information as a rental application, don't do that, my friend. I will not recommend that. It's one of the easiest way of getting scammed on Zillow. Other people will ask you for payment before viewing. I highly recommend against that. That's because you don't know what you are getting. So you have not seen the place. You don't even know if the place exists. You don't even know if the person trying to rent you the place is authorized to actually rent you the place. So it wouldn't make sense to pay before viewing. Even if the person tells you a story about 100 people in line waiting to apply for the same apartment, oh, don't worry about it. I believe in whatever city you are in the United States, there are always apartments everywhere to apply for. So the gimmick about someone trying to tell you, oh, it's a limited offer or it's a limited time, don't go for that. It's how you get scammed. So these are the red flags on Zillow you have to be aware of, especially if you're going through Zillow looking for an apartment to apply. If you don't pay attention to it, you will have yourself to blame. Now, how do you avoid rental scams on Zillow? First thing first, I want you to go and see the place. This is how you do it. You see the apartment or home that you like, you contact the person, or you go on the listing. You should be able to see the address of the house or the apartment, and then you drive over there yourself. If it's an apartment complex, you go over there and you try to find if they have a leasing office. If they have a leasing office, that's a tick. That's a big bonus, right? So you go in there and then you make sure that the setup is legitimate, and as you walk in there, it's a real leasing office, and they should be able to give you a tour, even if the apartment that you're trying to apply for is not really available. Almost all apartment complexes or leasing offices have other rooms that they could show you that is similar to the apartment that you're trying to get, and they will take you to the place and you go see that for yourself, and you ask all the questions that you need to ask. Personally, whenever I go in there, I like to look around and see if there's any kind of business registration, and then I will Google on the government website to see if I could find the apartment complex and make sure that I'm in the right place. And if I have further suspicion, I could ask all the questions that are on my mind. Uh, for instance, say if I go into an apartment complex to apply for an apartment and there's no leasing office, I'll be like, okay, this is a red flag for me. Why is there no leasing office? And sometimes they'll be like, okay, we are renovating, our leasing office. I'll be like, okay, fine, and we'll be like, okay, where do people usually go to apply? And if they take me to a place where my spirit or my God's feeling feel like there's something up with this, then I will leave. I also have the habit of stopping people in the apartment complex to ask questions about the apartment, um, especially in a situation where I walk in and there's no leasing office. I just stay around and I see somebody and I say, hey, do you live in here? And they'll be like, yeah, I live here. I'll be like, oh, tell me about this place. I'm trying to get an apartment here. And they can tell you everything you need to know. But usually, I go for apartment complexes that have leasing offices. I could just walk in there and before I even fill out the rental application, I go on a tour to see the place that I'm applying for and just to make sure that everything is legitimate before I even sit down to fill out the rental application form. Another thing is if you finally go up there and there's so many red flags, like for instance there's no leasing office in the apartment complex and the people are asking you for a down payment through an untraceable payment methods. Usually they will ask for cryptocurrency or they will say, hey, send me some money through Zelle or wire transfer. By wire transfer I'm talking about Western Union or MoneyGram. It's a big red flag. I just get up and leave. And that has only happened to me once. So if you ever find yourself in this situation, there is no further discussion, just get up and leave. Because chances are you are in for you're in for a big surprise. It might not be a scam, but something is up. Something is up. This is because most commercial apartments that you are going to walk into have a leasing office. It's called a business office where you go in and you see other people. Sometimes you don't see other people, but this is the place where they handle rental applications and all your questions get answered. They have the floor plans on paper, and they show you everything you need to know. And most of them, almost all of them, all commercial apartments have the courtesy to tour you around. You always have to ask for that, and they will do that for you without any drama at all. Yes. Now, another way of avoiding rental scams on Zillow is if you're applying online, say if you decide to apply on Zillow because you found a legitimate apartment and you did your research and the apartment actually exists, but you don't have the time to go over to the apartment complex immediately, but you just want to submit your rental applications and then go see the apartment complex later. We recommend filling out everything but leaving out sensitive information like your social security number. I know Zillow will always ask you to put down your social security number so they can run a credit check on you, because that's what Zillow does. If you're not comfortable with that, I would say just fill it out and then go to the apartment complex and then fill out the rest. Once you are able to determine that the place is legitimate. Another thing I would just say is to also use verified realtors and Zillows. So it is true that there are verified apartments of rental businesses on Zillow that rent apartments and homes. It doesn't mean that Zillow has vented them out, right? Zillow does not really vent out businesses that post their apartments or homes up there. I mean, they could verify them by saying, okay, well, we know that this is a big apartment complex and they have a physical location and all that. That's what their verification does. But they will not be like, okay, we did a deep research on this business and find that this business is actually registered with the state and all that. No, they don't do that. So I will advise that you still go over there and see for yourself. That's the best way to avoid rental scams on Zillow. Go and see for yourself. Yeah. So if you meet a realtor, once you get over there, say if it's a house that is being rented and it's a realtor that is trying to rent you the house, ask them for their license. They can, if they're a licensed realtor, they will show you that it's not a big deal. Most people don't have an issue showing you their license, that they're a realtor and they're authorized to rent the place to you. And if it's a business and you walk into the leasing office and it looks out of place and you're having your suspicions, just try to see if you can find any sort of business registration. If they have one, they will show it to you. If not, then get up and go find a place with a credible leasing office where you can just apply for the apartment that you want to apply for. But the best thing I can just advise you to do is just go see the place in person before you even submit your rental applications or put down a down payment on the apartment. It's the best way to avoid rental scams on Zillow. Now, like those people on Reddit that I told you about, on Reddit that has been scammed, those people that have been scammed on Reddit, if you are one of those people and you had just been scammed on Zillow, you can report it. Take for instance, if you went to the apartment complex and you met with the person and they took your information and your down payment, and then you finally found out that it's a scam, as long as you have met this person face to face, you can report to a law enforcement, your local law enforcement. You can go to the police and make a report. And since you've met this person face to face, you can, describe the person to the police, and hopefully they're able to do some sort of investigation to find and arrest this person. You can also report a scam on Zillow on the Federal Trade Commission, especially if fraud is involved. On Zillow itself, if you are going through a listing, apartment listing, and you have a feeling that the apartment listing is a scam, you could, if you look at the top right corner of your Zillow apartment listing, there's something called More. There's a tab there, More. You can click on the tab More, and then you see Report Fraudulent Listing, and then you just follow the process and report that, and then Zillow will do their own investigation. But I don't trust that. I don't trust it. So these are how you report a scam on Zillow. Now, we are working class adults here, you and I, and we work very hard for our money. So I don't see any reason why any person should be entitled to our money, especially money that they haven't worked for. That's why I recommend being very careful when it comes to apartment renting, because there are some people out there that are very smart about scamming others, scamming people that are in need of a home or an apartment. And I don't want you to be one of those people that will fall victim to these bastards. Do you understand? And if you follow exactly what I say here, you'll be very safe. You go on Zillow, you type for the apartment that you want to find or you're looking for. Once you find it, get the address from that place, and then go see the place yourself. Use the address, drive over there, go to the leasing office, and do a tour of the place. And if it suits your liking, then apply for it. But you see the thing that some of us do, whereby we trust people and we just do everything online and then make the down payment online, or send money to people, or send money to the so-called apartment complexes, or apartment management companies, or realtor representatives online. That is very risky. It is very risky, because there have been stories of people getting scammed, and it's real. It's real. If you doubt me, go on Reddit or just Google apartment scams on Zillow. The first 3 pages on Google web pages is gonna be people complaining on Reddit about how they got scammed a huge amount of money. I'm not even talking about a few hundreds. I'm talking about some of them is just like $2,000, $3,000, and these are people that trust other people, that trust other people so much that they send that huge amount of money to them. For me, I hate to break it to you. I'm a working class adult, and I know you are too. And I expect us to be very diligent when it comes to vetting, vetting apartments, regardless of whether they are commercial or private, so we don't fall victims to scam artists. Because scam artists are getting very smart. They are getting very, very smart. So if you're able to use the red flags that I mentioned here, that is being aware of landlords or apartment management companies in other states trying to rent you an apartment in your locality, avoiding remote rental applications and viewing, identifying typos on Zillow rental listing, avoiding listing that has a sub story behind it, or ignoring apartment listing that request down payment before you even see the place, or even following external links or codes to go apply elsewhere other than Zillow. I say run for your life. Don't even go for it. Don't go for it. If you ask me, I would say just try to see if you can find apartment locators in your cities. I think each city has one. My city, San Antonio, has one where you can go to an apartment locator. It's usually a small business, and they're not gonna ask you for money. They're not gonna ask you for personal information. They're only gonna ask you what kind of apartment you're looking for. You make an appointment with them. You go down there. They take your information just to keep in touch with you. And once they find the apartment you're looking for, they call you and be like, "Hey, are you ready for us to go see the apartment?" And you'll be like, "Yeah." And they will take you to the place, the apartment they find for you. And some of these people, sometimes they get you great discounts too. I know that when I got my first apartment, I did that through an apartment locator. I cannot forget his name, Steven. And this guy worked for an apartment locating service in my city, San Antonio, Texas. And they found me an apartment that was very cheap to my liking and got me a discount. I didn't even pay the first month rent. And the rent was so good. That's the second time I had to use the service. Yeah, it saves you a lot of headache. Saves you a lot of headaches, my friend. Yeah. So, my friend, you should really be very careful when it comes to looking for apartments on online platforms like Facebook, Zillow, Craigslist, because it's a 50-50 chance. By 50-50 chance, I mean there's a high chance you're gonna fail. You're gonna fall victim to a scam artist, and I don't want that to happen to you. So, are there rental scams on Zillow? Heck yeah. But there are also legitimate rental businesses on Zillow where you can apply if you do your due diligence and not get scammed. It all boils down to being very self-aware and not giving out your money or your personal information freely before you even see the place that you're trying to get. It boils down to common sense. And I know that you have common sense, my friend. Anyways, that's it for this episode on the Weekly Bagel Podcast. I just figured I should put that there because I know there are a lot of us out there, the young working class, that are always looking for a home. And I just want you to find a nice place without getting scammed or without losing money. A place where you can just, at the end of the day after work, come in and rest, without having additional life problems piled on the ones you already have by apartments. I'm wishing you the best of luck in your apartment hunting, and be careful out there. Be smart. I'm always rooting for your success in everything you do. I remain yours faithfully, Mr. Chime. Until the next episode, goodbye.